It's Thursday, September 26th, 2024. Kamala Harris does her first one-on-one interview. Another prominent Democrat is indicted by the Democrat Department of Justice, and inside the life of an FBI whistleblower. Next on the AM Update. Tomorrow is another edition of Ask or Tell Me Anything. You can ask me any question you want. Tell me any news story you think needs covered on the AM Update. Look for the pinned post on my X profile at Real AM Update. Now on with the Thursday edition. So just last weekend, MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle went on Real Time with Bill Maher, and she debated a New York Times journalist, probably another Kamala voter, about Kamala Harris's lack of a need to answer questions. Yeah, she actually debated a New York Times journalist, basically said that Kamala Harris doesn't have to answer any questions, thank you very much. Well, less than 72 hours later, it was announced by MSNBC that same Stephanie Ruhle was granted Kamala Harris's first one-on-one interview on MSNBC. Here's what that sounded like.
Expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share.
So, yet again, she doesn't actually answer the question. She did have some sort of an answer when it came to whether or not she was actually employed by McDonald's once upon a time.
The first one, just a fact check. Okay. Because your opponent
there is
almost
no little
every
job.
day... Okay,
there's no such thing as a little job.
Okay, fair. Because your opponent almost every day seems to be talking about this. So I just want to ask you yes or no. At any point in your life, have you served 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working at a McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I have.
Okay. Now the other job.
But it was not a small job. Like, I did the fries. I mean, yes, but I did.
That was the first question Stephanie Ruhle asked of Kamala Harris. After the interview, Nicole Wallace, also of MSNBC, interviewed the interviewer, Stephanie Ruhle. And Ruhle actually had some pretty critical comments, given that this is Stephanie Ruhle, and she was just defending Kamala Harris a few days ago for not answering questions.
But here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from, to expand the child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do. And she says, we just have to do it. And that's great, and that's a campaign promise. But the issue is, if it means we're just going to borrow again, then what we're doing is we're just never addressing the deficit. And back in the days when you were a proud Republican, debts and deficits mattered.
So that is Stephanie Ruhle, the interviewer, the first one-on-one interviewer of Kamala Harris, saying on MSNBC of all places, she's not answering the questions. She's not answering questions. If you thought that was the worst part of Kamala Harris's messaging for the day, you were wrong. More on that in just a few moments. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on criminal charges in federal court in Manhattan. The indictment, which remains sealed for now, at least in part, accuses Adams of criminal conduct related to donations to his 2021 mayoral campaign. A source said the indictment mentions up to $20 million in donations that Adams' campaign received as a result of matching funds program that city's campaign finance program offers candidates for small dollar donations made to them by residents of New York City. Adams is the first New York mayor to be criminally charged while still in office. It was previously known the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office was investigating Adams, a former New York City police officer and state senator, for potentially conspiring with the government of Turkey to funnel illegal donations into that campaign. New York Times on Monday reported that prosecutors had submitted grand jury subpoenas to City Hall, Adams and his campaign in July, demanding information related to 4 other countries: Israel, China, Qatar, South Korea, and Uzbekistan. Adams issued a defiant statement Wednesday night after news of the indictment broke. Quote, "I always knew that if I stood my ground for New Yorkers, that I would be a target, and a target I became." That's according to that statement from New York City Mayor Eric Adams. So now this is the second left-wing adjacent or left-wing prominent left-winger to be indicted by the Democrat Department of Justice in just the last couple of weeks. Of course, Diddy was arrested last week and indicted last week. Now we have New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Are those just coincidence, happenstance? Are they just happening in a vacuum? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll talk about that more tomorrow on Ask or Tell Me Anything. So I told you that the Stephanie Ruhle MSNBC interview was not the worst of the messaging for Kamala Harris that happened just yesterday. I would contend what you're about to hear is even worse than what you heard on MSNBC. Joe Biden went on The View yesterday and made these comments about his vice president.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Yeah, exactly. That is the latest Trump campaign ad. Biden is actually lucid sounding there, articulate even. And he said there's nothing, he said, that Kamala Harris was not capable of doing. And he delegated duties, both foreign and domestic, to Vice President Kamala. Listen to that. Now, listen to these words. This is Kamala Harris yesterday at the Economic Club of Pittsburgh. Here's what she had to say.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
So Joe Biden says he delegated duties, both foreign and domestic, to his vice president because there is nothing that she was not capable of doing in her role as vice president. And now Kamala Harris, on the same day, just about an hour later at the Economic Club of Pittsburgh, says we need to move on from the failed policies that we know have proven don't work. Mind you, this is the same week that her vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, says we need to move on from failed policies and that we can't afford 4 more years of this. Are they actually running to win this campaign? Sometimes I wonder. Donald Trump's campaign officially announced Wednesday that the former president plans to return to Butler, Pennsylvania, the very location of the first assassination attempt on his life this year, for a rally on October 5th. The campaign said in a news release, quote, President Donald J. Trump will return to Butler, Pennsylvania to hold a rally on the very same ground where he came within a quarter inch of losing his life less than 3 months ago. In his return to Butler, the campaign said Trump will honor firefighter Corey Comparator, the 50-year-old father shot and killed during the attempted assassination. Trump had previously announced his plans for a big and beautiful rally to honor Comparator and others injured in the shooting. Trump's upcoming rally in Butler, located north of Pittsburgh in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania, will come less than 3 months after the July 13th attempt on the former president's life. Trump was minutes into that speech, as you remember, when that gunman, Thomas Matthew Crooks, fired 8 shots at the stage, blooding the former president's right ear. Secret Service agents killed the gunman at the scene. Still don't know much about Thomas Matthew Crooks, and I'm not sure we ever will. A man allegedly threw an explosive device inside a California courthouse on Wednesday, injuring 5 people. The same day, he was set to be arraigned on firearms violations. The explosion was reported around 8:48 a.m. Pacific time Wednesday at the Santa Maria Courthouse in Santa Barbara County. The suspect allegedly plunged through the courthouse doors and tossed a small bag past the weapons screening station, and the bag exploded as it hit the floor outside of the local arraignment room. 5 people suffered non-life-threatening injuries from the explosion, including burns, according to Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office Undersheriff Craig Bonner. The suspect, identified by the Sheriff's Office as 20-year-old Nathaniel McGuire, will be booked on multiple local charges, including attempted murder. The suspect's alleged motivation in the explosion appeared to have stemmed from a recent arrest by the Sheriff's Office, according to authorities in Santa Barbara County. China-linked hacking group Salt Typhoon penetrated several U.S. internet service providers in recent months, trying to access sensitive information. That's according to an exclusive report at the Wall Street Journal. The group dug into America's broadband networks and aimed to establish a foothold within the infrastructure to access sensitive data or launch damaging cyber attacks. The report comes a week after U.S. officials said they disrupted a group of hackers working at the direction of Chinese governments who targeted universities, government agencies, and other organizations. That hacking campaign, known as Flax Typhoon, installed malicious software on on more than 200,000 consumer devices, including cameras, video recorders, and home and office routers to create a massive botnet, a network of infected computers. The botnet was used to facilitate cyber crimes like theft of sensitive information from victims' networks. So that's not exactly instilling confidence that a Chinese-linked hacking group was able to hack internet service providers, like what you pay for in your home to provide internet right into your home. They were able to hack some of those just about a month and a half before the election. I don't know what to tell you anymore these days. There's no way. As much as humanly possible, when you're setting up accounts online, try to make those passwords as complicated as possible, and try not to have any identifiable information in your email address. That's the best I can tell you. Here's this story from CNBC. 4 years after the COVID pandemic began, there are more than 900,000 fewer undergraduates enrolled in college. The overall rate of high school graduates choosing to enroll in college held steady in 2023 compared to the year earlier, according to a recent report from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center. Although the data shows the rate of high schooler graduates enrolling within a year of their graduation is significantly higher for students from low-poverty high schools. Worries over rising costs and large student loan balances are causing some high schoolers to make alternative plans after high school. That's according to our separate report by Junior Achievement and Citizens. Junior Achievement and Citizen polled 1,000 teenagers between the ages of 13 and 18 in July. Roughly half, or 49%, believe a high school degree, trade program, 2-year degree, or other type of enrichment program is the highest level of education needed for their anticipated career path. Even more, 56% believe that a real-world and on-the-job experience is more beneficial than obtaining a higher education degree. I'm not sure how you can look or hear a story like that and not be encouraged or at least optimistic. Now, there are some degrees, of course, as you know, that you definitely need a college degree in. Anything related to the medical field, you need some pretty good training and strenuous training at that. But for most people, trade jobs, just some real-world experience that you can garner while you're in high school or fresh out of high school, you're absolutely right. That's going to be a lot more valuable than paying tens of thousands of dollars for an advanced degree. And of course, there's the added benefit that they don't receive the extra and super duper indoctrination of going to a university. That's also objectively good. And finally, I want to end this Thursday edition with a rather long clip to play for you. You might have seen or heard this already, but I think it's really important to listen to. This is from FBI whistleblower Marcus Allen, who testified in front of the Weaponization Committee in the House of Representatives. He discussed the devastating impact of the FBI's lies on his family. After 27 months, he says the FBI finally came clean. Here's a look inside the life of an FBI whistleblower, Marcus Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the invitation to testify today. My name is Marcus Allen. I'm here to speak with the committee about how the FBI weaponized the security clearance process to retaliate against me for protected whistleblower activity. In late 2021, I raised concerns about the FBI director's testimony about the January 6th Capitol riot, not out of political motivation, but out of a duty to truth and integrity. This act, which I believe to be in the spirit of transparency and accountability, led to unexpected and severe consequences. Almost exactly 3 years ago today, I forwarded news articles to my superiors and others within the FBI about January 6th. It was literally one of my job duties to keep my colleagues informed about open source intelligence related to their cases. As a result of simply doing my job, the FBI accused me of promoting conspiratorial views and unreliable information. The FBI questioned my allegiance to the United States, suspended my security clearance, suspended my pay, and refused to allow me to obtain outside employment or even accept charity. This once storied institution, whose initials ironically stand for fidelity, bravery, and integrity, was punishing me for bravely challenging their integrity while they questioned my fidelity. The suspension ultimately lasted for 27 months. During that time, the FBI held my family and me in indefinite limbo, awaiting a final decision. Determined to not lose our home, my wife and I took early withdrawals from our retirement accounts to survive. It became clear that the FBI, with endless resources, the American people's money, was trying to destroy me financially so that I would give up. This is a fear of countless potential whistleblowers who see the personal cost of integrity. There are no words strong enough to describe the impact the FBI's lies about me have had on me and my family. The stress has taken a toll on our health, and our children have suffered. traumatized by the thought of our door getting kicked in or dad not coming home. The battle for truth and justice will cost you, but the arduous good is worth it. The FBI's restoration of my clearance earlier this year, thanks to the efforts of Empower Oversight and the American Center for Law and Justice, was absolute vindication. It's a point I would not have reached without the prior help of Bigley-Ranish and Judicial Watch. However, the experience is also a stark reminder of the system's flaws. It took legal battles, public scrutiny, and patience over 3 long years. No other FBI whistleblower has ever had his clearance restored as I did. Garrett O'Boyle and his family are still suffering in the same limbo we were, with no access to due process and no limit on the FBI's ability to delay and avoid independent accountability. How many other whistleblowers remain silent, fearing the same ordeal my family and Garrett's family faced with little hope of vindication at the end? Despite the stress and uncertainty, I've never once regretted standing up for truth. In fact, I'm grateful for the experience. Indeed, my family and I persevered due to our strength and faith, God's grace, and the sacraments. If you do not worship God, then you will worship something else. You can either serve God or you can serve mammon, but you can't serve both. This has been a purification. While we lost material items, we gained more important things. We've stored up for ourselves treasures in heaven. What we have gained spiritually has far outweighed what was lost materially. John Adams noted that the framework of our country was built for a moral and religious people, and unfit for the governance of any other. James Madison notes the duty to honor God is precedent, both in order of time and degree of obligation to the claims of civil society. Before any man can be considered as a member of civil society, he must be considered as a subject of the governor of the universe. I recently learned about comments made by Mr. Jeffrey Veltri suggesting I was delusional for believing in and seeking guidance from the Holy Spirit. Mr. Veltri currently serves as special agent in charge of the Miami field office, but at the time he was an executive at Security Division overseeing security clearance decisions. To Mr. Veltri, I say you can insult me, but you should not mock God. It is an insult to the infinite dignity of God, who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and it is bad for the health of your soul. This isn't about me, it's bigger. I am hopeful that the truth of what happened will be fully revealed and deter the FBI from doing the same injustice to others. Though the path may be difficult, I must plead with other employees who have witnessed wrongdoing that they find the courage to speak up. You're not alone, nor will you ever be. Psalm 139 says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence?" I've been blessed to be supported by God's sanctifying grace, the blessed sacrament, men and women of goodwill, other whistleblowers, the charity of the American people, prayers and great attorneys along the way, like Tristan and Jason of Empower Oversight. Potential whistleblowers, please do not be silenced by the FBI's mistreatment. We are all here to support you if you choose to come forward. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Equally important is the awareness and involvement of the American people. This is your country. While I feel vindicated now in getting back my security clearance, it is sad that in the country for which I fought as a Marine, the FBI was allowed to lie about my loyalty to the United States for 3 years. Unless there is accountability, it will keep happening to others. Better oversight and changes to security clearance laws are key to stopping the abuses suffered by whistleblowers like me. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Peace and all good.
Some powerful, powerful words from FBI whistleblower Marcus Allen about what that agency did to him and his family. But more importantly, what drove him to fight back. He sacrificed greatly on behalf of the good, the true, and the beautiful. Most of all, that middle statement there, the true. He fought for the truth, and he paid the price. And now he's been vindicated. He's actually been given his security clearance back by the FBI. That is just a small taste. A small taste. As emotional as that is, as powerful as that is, it's just a small taste of what's truly going to be required of every one of us in this country, if this country has a shot moving forward. That'll do it for a Thursday. Don't forget about Ask or Tell Me Anything. That's tomorrow. Find the pinned tweet on my X profile at RealAMUpdate. You can ask me any question you want. Tell me any story you think deserves covering. That'll do it for a Thursday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.